The mayor of Minneapolis, Betsy Hodges, gave her annual State of the City address yesterday, and it was delivered inside a mosque. And she devoted the official government speech to bashing President Trump.
All right, our own Pete Hegseth was actually there. He was able to talk to the mayor right after the speech, but it was not easy getting a word in. He joins us right now. Hey, Pete.
No, it was not easy, and I'm a little stuffed up because I've been chasing mayors around who refuse to talk to us. As we noted on the program earlier this week, she's giving a speech in a mosque, which, you know, leftists are usually very keen on pointing out separation of church and state. So we wanted to ask her about that. We also figured she would use the opportunity to bash President Trump and, of course, talk about global climate change. So we were there in the mosque and attempted to ask her the questions that she refused to answer. We put in 2 formal requests for it. Here's how it went down.
Cities like Minneapolis and the people who live in them are squarely in Donald Trump's sights. His agendas of oppression and regression and suppression have no place in Minneapolis, and we are standing firm in our resistance to them. When Donald Trump comes after any part of our community, he'll find 419,000 Minneapolitans and me standing squarely in his way. That's the kind of wall I can support.
Mayor, we'd love to ask you a couple of questions.
Yeah, let me go on.
It's a free country. I can walk where I want.
We told you, man.
No, we asked, and she's refusing to answer. Mayor, why'd you hold this in a mosque? Would you do it in a church? Thank you. It's great to be here. Clearly made a statement holding this in a mosque. As many on the progressive left say, make hay about separation of church and state. Why a mosque, and would you do it in a church?
I'm giving it a mosque today because our Muslim community gave support.
Do you think that's a conflict with separation of church and state, or mosque and state?
No.
No. Would you give an official state speech in a church from a pulpit?
I have given official speeches in churches before.
Like the state of a city?
I don't know that I've given the state of the city in a church before. Our Muslim community needs a lot of support right now because one community should not be held responsible for the reprehensible acts of a few members of that community.
But you didn't call out the community of Muslims to make sure they're rooting out, drive them out, the radicals that may be in their midst.
You do a good job of that, Pete. I gotta go.
Question, you mentioned Donald Trump. He gave a speech in Saudi Arabia. It was well received. We had a chance to talk to the mayor briefly, although she's got a cohort of lots of people that love to bump into us. She answered a couple of questions, not very directly. Wanted to ask about President Trump. She walked away before we could do so, but I think it's a little bit interesting that he gave a speech in Saudi Arabia. We've been told he has hateful rhetoric, yet he was well received by the place that keeps the 2 of the holiest shrines in Islam.
I don't know that she wanted to talk to you much, Peter.
She sure didn't. But you know what she did do? She sent out a fundraising Facebook post using my name and Fox News Channel. So they're happy to use us as a wedge, but not willing to actually talk to us and engage on the issues. Very briefly skimmed over the issue of radicalization. And as you both know, here in Minneapolis, there's been a serious problem of Somali Muslim youth going to fight with Al-Shabaab and ISIS, including active terrorist cells that a federal judge believes exist here. So there are real issues in this community that she could be addressing and doesn't, and to be in a mosque and not use that as an opportunity, I think is a real missed opportunity. We wanted to ask those questions. She didn't want to answer.
Did she need the votes? Does she need the votes? Is the Muslim community so strong that they can change the tide of an election?
There is a large Somali Muslim population in Minneapolis. She needs the politically correct love. I mean, her whole speech was about one Minneapolis, which is great. But if you've got radicals in your midst and you're not driving them out, that's a real problem. I also have a problem with the double standard. We checked into it. She's had events in churches, but certainly never an official speech. I mean, this speech, the announcement for it went out on official mayoral letterhead. It was the State of the City address, which is mandated by the law here in Minneapolis. She likely wouldn't do the same in a church, and I think that's a double standard.
Yeah, maybe she will. Maybe she will in the future.
I was going to say, this is the kind of speech, though, that you normally give at City Hall, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah,
the tradition is to do it outside of City Hall, but yes, you normally, but not necessarily in a house of worship.
Especially after the terrorist attack in London, you would think she would just keep it neutral and do it at City Hall, but maybe she will have another speech in the church.
We shall see.
We'll see.
We shall see.
Okay, honey and lemon and tea. Pete will help you with their voice.
I got a little bit of already.
All right, good man.
I remember I had that in Kuwait when I was there, and they said tear gas. Would open up.
Pete, tear gas if you've got some.
They would open up your all your
sure will,
sinuses
for a month.
Yeah, and true.